Having so many women in the house is, like most things, a double-edged sword. Being the middle of summer, none of the girls really wear much, if anything at all, which makes it difficult not to stare or cast any solid glances. I mean, let's face it, glances are going to be happening. Still, I thought our new French roommate would have an issue with it. Then I want to go, oh, duh, she's French. They don't get hung up on things like that. Good thing, too, as I found out the only clothes that she had was that weird, stretchy costume catsuit thing she wore. I still don't know what the hell is up with that thing. Eventually, as in the day she told me she didn't have any other clothes, we're going shopping right now. It's been a while since I've been to a mall. A long time, actually. They had made a massive comeback after a bunch of those distribution centers for the online stores were either raided or destroyed in all the fighting. While the ladies tried to convince me to join them, I had to go to different stores. Besides, I really didn't want to sit there and basically hold their purses and look like the just weird guy in the corner. No thank you. I need new boots, new running shoes, another full set of wool socks, 3 more sets of jeans at least now that these are all tore up, and definitely some new t-shirts. I'm just blowing through these things. Typical male attire. I thought this would take the time, but by the time I got everything and headed back to them after dropping it off in the car, the ladies were just finishing in the very first store. I was about to say something, and then I remembered this is how women shop. Most of what they got were light summer clothes. Ruby and Hazel both preferred either very light dresses or that wonderful tank top and shorts that they just love to wear. It's actually easy to see which one of their personalities is which by the way they actually dress themselves, who had the actual shorts and who had the actual dress. Our local dragon mommy picked out a strange top that seemed to double as a bra, believe it or not. It was strange because it seemed to be so tight around her midsection, but it didn't seem to bother her as it just kind of kept the wampons in place. I figured, you know what? To hell with it. If it works for her. Her daughter preferred a short summer dress, which seemed as though she was trying to show something off. The green of the dress seemed to actually complement the yellow in her skin and those cat eyes, though she did end up buying some shades too to cover up those eyes. She's still conscious about it. It's like she thinks it's going to scare people away. She doesn't realize a lot of people are going to be into that. The curvaceous blue lady was now wearing a sleeveless v-neck pink top and a short black pleated skirt, both of which emphasized her many curves. Seeing this display, I complimented all of them and thought we were done, thinking, hey, we can get done before lunch. This is going to be awesome. Without skipping a beat, our dragon mommy said, nope, next is shoes. I rolled my eyes and simply took the bags to the car and said, I'll be back. I knew where they were going, and I was in no hurry to rush to the car or go back because I knew this was going to be a long day. Hazel and Ruby didn't care much for fancy shoes. I mean, they really didn't like walking in them. Yet a certain dragon and a certain French lady were trying to convince them otherwise when I walked in, almost basically forcing heels onto their feet. Since my girls were already done picking out their shoes, I decided to save them from the other ones and take them to the food court. For some reason, my girls just really love fast food Asian cuisine. I'm glad they enjoyed it, even though I knew they'd be hungry in about an hour, but I figured, hell, since we're out, might as well have a treat. We don't really go out and eat much. Usually we make our own. While we waited for others, the girls told me how helpful the other humans and elves and the other type of creatures were that helped them shopping. Surprisingly, I found out that a lot of them have the ability to adjust the sizes of the clothes. It's kind of weird. And then they showed me the dress, and I realized that when they shrunk the dress that Hazel was wearing, I realized that the fabric was actually a lot thicker than I realized. And then I went, oh, damn, that's right. And then I looked at someone else who was wearing a dress and realized that the fabric had gotten real thin. I guess this is one way to save money. Why the hell not? Besides, if you got the ability to do so, fuck it. Why not? The girls know almost nothing about fashion, so it was good to actually have help with them, and I am greatly appreciated. Even those elves with glowing eyes seem to need to work, though. Not everybody gets some cushy job after their change, after all. So it's good that they found a niche. After the rest of our little entourage was done, the ladies actually showed up at the food court and we had lunch together. Our blue skinned friend turned her nose up at much of the choices that were there. Ruby and Hazel actually thought she was being rude for a second. That is, until I reminded them that she's French. They didn't quite get it. But I had to put it bluntly in when I said that their food is just better. All European food is just better. They don't have any filler, no preservatives, no extra chemicals. European cuisine, I've been there. It's simply better than ours. After my long compliment, I looked over and I saw a pair of blue cheeks actually blush and turn more purple. And when the girls got jealous, I had to promise them that I would take them to Oktoberfest the next chance I could. Not exactly telling them that I was looking for any excuse to go back. I had a blast, and I'd love to go back. FYI, I'm never going on the weekends, but during the week was awesome. The next thing to happen was when I actually walked away from the group for just a few seconds to toss away the trash. All four were approached by a group of a different species of men. Didn't matter if they were elf, human, minotaur, orc, didn't matter. When I turned around, they were all shooting their shot, hitting on the girls. Normally, I would have just laughed and let it happen, but one was starting to get a bit handsy with Hazel. Way too handsy. He wasn't anymore once I grabbed his gray hand and put him in a wrist lock and put him to the floor, screaming, "Back off, assholes!" I'm pretty sure they would have jumped me for sure, if not for a female dragonoid jumping to her feet, looming over all of them and showing her teeth, getting ready to actually bite her head off like venom, or a very curvaceous blue lady jumping up, doing some sort of strange spinning move and knocking two of them on their ass. And the rest of the men on the food court jumping to their feet, ready to beat wholesale ass after seeing what this group of guys had done. Thankfully, the group of guys looked, saw this, and immediately started to retreat. They knew they were outnumbered, outclassed for sure. I offered to take everybody home after this, but I was informed they have one last place to visit. I followed them, and heading to the bottom floor of the mall, I stopped dead in my tracks as the group walked into a very high-end lingerie shop. The girls thought it was funny and tried to tease me about me not wanting to go in until I said, "Okay, fine," and just walked in with them. They were actually confused about this and my lack of embarrassment and brought this up. I immediately told them, "Boys get embarrassed. Men don't. I just didn't want to come in. But if you insist, here I am." Thankfully, we didn't stay long after my young neighbor walked up asking my opinion on what I thought would be more attractive or better for her to wear. This is when Ruby laughed out loud, saying, "He wouldn't know anything about that. He doesn't wear any." This is when her yellow face turned to orange as she was just shocked, and her eyes immediately glanced up and down as a natural reaction. That is, before she left, I told her to forget how it looks. Don't worry how it looks, okay? This is for you, not for anyone else. It should feel great. That's what you should worry about. Does it hold the way it's supposed to? Does it feel good? So focus on the material. She took this to heart as she walked away. I could see the wheels in her head turning. The kicker is neither Ruby or Hazel actually wear that stuff. Reason, they have no need. In fact, they have not cycled once since they had transformed from, well, the birds they used to be. I had already heard all about this and figured it was confirmed after kind of checking a few things, the lack of certain things in the trash, and it was the main reason for the lack of fertility across the planet. Across the world, seemingly until a species received a, shall we say, injection of DNA, then, and it had to be from their own kind, many species' reproductive systems just stayed dormant and didn't work. They just were there. No dropping eggs, no spilling of fluids, no nothing. It was odd, but it is what it is. This is life now. Our local dragon also opted out as well, as it was more, as she put it, freeing for her to go commando. Plus, when she cycles, it's only once a year, and she just lays an egg. That's it. On the other hand, her yellow-skinned daughter ended up buying a lot of materials, yet everything seemed to be silk and satin. She took my advice on that. Our Miss French kept her purchases a bit hidden, yet whatever it was really expensive. She simply asked us to wait outside as she actually went and got what she wanted to. I didn't know what it was, but you know what? Hey, my treat this time. And after that, we finally headed home. And once we were there, I immediately tended the animals while the girls put their clothes away. I figured on the inside they'd be doing nothing but chit-chatting about what they got and probably giving themselves a fashion show or whatnot. Didn't matter. I was going to be outside for a few hours, taking care of the animals, then go take care of the garden, doing a perimeter check, all the other fun shit. After dinner, the ladies were going to hang out in the jacuzzi. When I told them, hey, you have fun? I'm going to be inside. They started to ask me to join them, almost demanding. I politely declined, but when they started pushing for a reason, I immediately pointed to my neighbor's daughter and said, it's because of her. Everybody was confused that I basically just gave her a knife hand. That's until I asked them, how old is she again? They paused and realized what I was saying, at least everybody except Ruby and Hazel. Then she insisted that I've seen her walking around the house before without even a stitch on. So how is this any different? She did make a good point. As we all ended up inside the bubbling water, I realized that with all the stress of the day, thanks to this moment, it was all worth it. All the stress was going away, and it just felt great. With each of my girls next to me, one on each side, and as the girls moved to talk to each other, I saw Amelia's back. I then inquired if it was some sort of fancy tattoo or some sort of dermal implant. I was never really super close to it, just didn't want to be a creep. She immediately got serious in that moment and looked me square in the eyes, but I broke the tension as I poured her another glass of champagne, literally holding out the bottle going, can I top you off? She told me to stand up and get a better look as she turned around. When I told her that standing up at this moment would be a bad idea, the tension was fully broken as the ladies looked at each other and did that stupid giggle they always do. What they didn't know, trust me, if they could see under the water, there's a reason I wasn't laughing. Especially since Ruby and Hazel had decided to get handsy themselves. That was one of the very nice days we had for the next few years. Eventually, my neighbors would go back to their house as soon as it got fixed, but they ended up visiting so much you would think they still lived here. Amelia moved in permanently and used the money from her job to complete the changes to her house lot that she had. Taking my advice, she built an actual bunker style. You couldn't even see anything past the driveway. It was all underground. to include an actual underground garage. Expensive, sure, but since she was the most desired model in the world right now, I only told her, safety first, there are some freaks out there. My girl still took care of the house and just enjoyed life with me, and it was good. At that moment, I didn't even think of the future aside from when I had to go out for training. Life was just being too good to me, and I was going to enjoy it. I should have known that life can't be real good without showing how bad it can be, too. What we saw coming over the horizon, changing reality as it did with that strange fog, but also twisting reality as though you're looking at one of the funny mirrors, came across to us and hit me like a freight train in the nutsack, and it was going to remind us all that such good things happening were almost just a fantasy, and real life was about to change on us, whether we wanted it to or not. As the distortion wave came over me, immediately I dropped to my knees because something happened. This one might have been strong. It hit me in the face and spun me around, sure, and I lost my equilibrium, sure, but this one's different. Something inside me is changing. They say that the distortions don't hurt, and they're right, they don't. You're too discombobulated, but you know something's changing. All I can say is, hello, wake up to the new reality. Hello, everybody, this is Syntax. Thank you very much for joining me on today's chapter. Before I go, I need to send a couple quick thank yous to a couple of my supporters. First one's going to be Sir Delta Tango 2 Whiskey Echo, and also Erica Gem. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Everyone else, I'll see you on the next one. This is Syntax, punching out.